This is Keep On Cooking, a podcast for people who love cookbooks and want to know more about the authors. It's also a great place to get a weekly dose of culinary inspiration to keep things pumping in the kitchen. So grab a cookbook and keep on cooking. I'm Dustin Harder, and this is Keep On Cooking. Hello and welcome to Keep On Cooking, the only podcast dedicated to plant-based cookbooks. I'm your host, Dustin Harder, and it might surprise you to know I'm both a summer and a winter, and he's the tortilla chip to my guac, Haney, my husband and podcast partner in crime, David Rossetti. How you doing, Roro?
I'm good. I'm the tortilla
Rosie.
chip to your guac.
Yeah. A dip.
What kind of tortilla chip though?
A
There's so many these days.
salty one.
You're
had just
some
salty.
How dare
Sweeto.
sweet potato ones. Semi recently that I thought were very tasty.
Oh, but those are. Remember you bringing those into. Here's the deal, everybody, with tortilla chips. We do not bring them in the house.
Really,
that
tortilla
often.
in any form.
Any form
is a problem.
It
in
is
our
just going to be devoured within hours, minutes, days. Those sweet potato ones, I was like, these are little heavenly crisp of light. They were light. They were like
I think they were
perfectly
Target brand.
crispy.
They were perfect.
Thin crisp, thin crunch. It was great. But listen, speaking of guac and chips, we ate guac and chips to our little heart's desire.
Yes.
If you were listening last week, I said we went on vacation, and I talked about it more when David was here. So we recently went to Puerto Vallarta. David, do you feel relaxed, refreshed, and renewed?
I do.
Oh, good.
I think so. I mean, we're the end of the week after getting back, so that's always a little jarring. But we did go. We were very smart. Did Friday to Friday, so that we then had Saturday and Sunday to kind of like just gird our loins before we started the following week of work.
That
so
phrase always is weird to me. What does that
hey,
mean?
It's an old term. Gird ye loins.
I don't care for it.
Well, it's fine. We all
Just
have loins.
Don't
be ashamed
yeah,
of your loins.
Anyway, it just sounds the gird. Gird. Are you saying guard?
No, gird. You gotta like gird them.
Okay, so let's talk about.
But anyway, we went Friday to Friday, so we had the weekend to kind of like recuperate after vacation.
Most important,
and prepare. That was
and everyone
everything.
We said to on the trip that we met, new friends we've made, they were like, "That's the smartest thing we've ever heard." We were like, "Yeah, we feel really good about that choice." Like, so we were able to get home on Friday, and then we had Saturday and Sunday to like spend time with Mr. Benson and Bean Louise and like get laundry done and all that stuff like that. So it was lovely. We stayed at a place called Hotel Masai, which is an adults only resort, and it is very luxe and not something like we had to have a little talk with ourselves there where we were like, this is not a normal thing for us. And we ended up doing it because we were suckered into, let's be real, this timeshare 8 years ago. And I won't get into the details. Y'all, if you know anything about it, you know how you get suckered. It just happens. We got suckered in anyways. We were young.
And we had just come off a Broadway show.
Yeah, we had money. We had good credit. Happy to say our credit is returned.
The combination was just too much.
Yeah, so we were like, oh my gosh, we can do this. And when we bought it, we were like, this will force us to go on vacation every year. Well, 8 years later, we made our first return there.
Correct.
So all that to say, we banked all these points from the last 8 years, and we had one heck of a resort stay, and it was luxury. It was fantastic. But we were in the middle of Category 4 hurricane.
Hurricane Lydia came to visit on the Tuesday, kind of right in the middle. So, I mean, I think it was better than like at the very, very end, because there were like mountain landslides. There were, things that like shut down the airport. So, I mean, we were lucky in that sense. But
listen, we had a great trip. We're alive.
We made some great friends.
The hotel staff was awesome during the whole hurricane, and we were like the whole time, David and I are like, but where are you going right now? What's happening with you? Where are you sleeping tonight? Like, we were just like, do we need to take all the employees in our room? Where's everyone going? Like, it was very just nerve-wracking for 48 hours, I think. Really. Yeah.
But I will say we overall, I mean, there were some things with the food that we just had to communicate and just make sure that like they understood what vegan meant. But I would say overall, it was better than I thought
Yeah,
overall.
I've written a strongly worded letter to the manager. But strongly in the sense that I gave positive critiques, and then I also said, here's some things you can do and what we did at XYZ restaurant
Right.
to make this dish vegan. Like, we were great, had some great servers and chefs where they worked with us and listened to me, and David.
Yeah, it was
And
great.
we sort of made some suggestions. This Dao restaurant, man, they came through with the kung pao tofu and the flat noodles.
But it was
so
just,
good.
it was one of those things where we're like, oh, well, we could do the, kung pao tofu, with tofu, but like it wasn't on the menu listed as that.
Right.
We were like, well, that's an easy one.
And they were great when we would ask about fish sauce and stuff. They were like, actually, like, oh, let us check, or oh no, actually, there's none in that, or there is, and we'll so it was really a good experience all around for food.
And the pool food, that was the best.
Oh, the pool food, the
Oh
pool
my God,
food.
the pool
Well,
food.
David and I realized we finally put it to the test. What is true? We started this conversation out with chips and guac, and I will confirm. Mr. Rossetti and I can officially eat chips and guacamole every day of our life.
Correct.
And we did. And
we did.
It is really fun to eat chips and not worry about it at all. It's like the best feeling in the world. I eat them now just more like on a balance. Like, I mean, back in the day, I would just be like, let's just always have tortilla chips in the house and eat them.
Trouble.
And now it's on a balanced situation. I still love me a good nacho plate. I'm not saying those foods are out of my life. But really on vacation, we were like, well, it's lunchtime. We'll start with the chips and guac, naturally.
Exactly.
But now here we are.
Here we are,
and it's sweater weather.
Sweater weather. Oh my gosh. It's
Sweater weather. Sweater weather.
Love sweater weather.
It's sweater weather. Finally, it's sweater weather.
Finally, sweater weather.
And
Sweater
David's
weather.
actually wearing, if you're not watching, I'll tell you, because if you're watching, you see, he's wearing his gorgeous merchandise from Supernatural pop-up in New York. I really love this sweatshirt. I think
It's
Alyssa
a great color too.
designed these. Alyssa from the Supernatural team. She is the
Hi,
queen of
Alyssa.
all. But really cute Supernatural sweatshirt you're wearing, Beb. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we're very, very excited for this
Be
special
excited.
episode as we have our first return co-host to Keep On Cooking. Now, listen, I would not co-host this show with just anyone, you understand?
Correct.
But we do love her so much.
And she is our favorite Chicagoan, Natalie Slater of Bake and Destroy, and is back with us and will take us through Dustin's second book, Epic Vegan.
That's right. We're going through that crazy monster of a book, Epic Vegan, crazy stunt foods. I do, listen, I may not eat like that every day, but I love that book so much. I'm so proud of it. And I think
worked so hard.
I did.
It had so many elements that like you perfected each one and you spent so much time.
I think we went a little crazy at the time, but also like in a good way. Like, we went so crazy sort of trying to create this book that we felt was had all these special elements to it, and you were very involved in tasting and naming things and helping.
That's really where
David's carbonara is.
That's really where I shine.
Really where I shine.
That's
tasting.
really where I glimmer.
Truly.
Well,
Shimmer.
but without Epic Vegan, you wouldn't have had Epic Vegan Quick and Easy.
Sure.
I think the things that you learned on Epic Vegan, you were like, okay, I liked that style. Now, how do I make it quick and easy?
Yeah, I do,
and
I do love. I love all. Honestly, I'm very. I can say
they really are three.
Toot my horn right here, but I'm gonna say I love all three of my books. I'm very proud.
I'll toot your horn too.
Oh wow!
Oh wow! X-rated. No, I will say. I mean, you wrote three very different cookbooks, like it's variety. It's not like, oh well, those are kind of similar, like that, the Epic Vegan versus Epic Vegan Quick and Easy.
Thanks, Ben.
I think is great. You can take two sides of it.
And that fourth one's coming out, and you and I both know that's a very different take too. Fourth one coming out in March. We'll have more about that later, but now we'll get back to Natalie, our love bug, Natalie Slater. She was a guest on episode 4 to talk about her fabulous cookbook, Bake and Destroy, and also what is it, Good Food for Bad Vegans, I think is the name of it, as the subtitle of it. But I will say about that book too, that book is like the OG Epic Vegan. So if you go back to listen to episode 4 of that, you'll hear more of that. But I think Natalie and I also get into it because the book is so awesome, and she's so awesome, and her personality is so awesome. Awesome. But it all just awesome. It shines through in the pages. She's got some great artwork that's done in there, great photography, great pictures of her that are very fun and flouncy. I don't think she'd like me referring to a picture of her as flouncy. I'm just thinking there's one where she's got a cupcake on her head.
Oh, cute.
I think it's like a cupcake fascinator. Anyways, she's stunning and glorious, and I adore her. Listen to episode 4 where we talk about her cookbook. And then she returned for episode 63 of Keep On Cookin', where we went over one of her favorite books, Isa Chandra Moskowitz's Vegan Brunch. So check out those episodes. And as mentioned, Natalie's the author of the cookbook Bake and Destroy, but also founder of a fantastic blog by the same name, Bake and Destroy. So check her out on socials everywhere at Bake and Destroy.
And Natalie is a super badass in the vegan world. And a
Mhm.
few months ago, we wanted to mention that she created a zine to benefit Grind for Life. It's an organization that provides financial assistance to cancer patients and their families when traveling long distances to doctors and hospitals.
Yeah, actually, this was created about a year ago. She did it for the holidays last year, but a couple months ago, she started working on a volume 2 of
Show the
it.
cover.
So it's called
Yeah.
Bake and Destroy Cancer, and it's a collaboration book. We'll put the link in the show notes. And listen, the supplies are limited. It's getting down to the very end of its run. So if you are interested in getting this book, you want to follow the link in the show notes and get your copy now. I contributed a recipe to this book, and lots of great vegan chefs did. And even more fun news, she's working on the volume 2, like I said. So you want to get volume 1 while supplies last, so you can start your collection. You get volume 1, you'll have volume 2. And
you
we'll
can also learn how to draw Garfield.
Well,
which I
again,
think is just
with
super
Natalie's outstanding personality, it's infused in all that she does, which
I
the
love it.
world is so lucky for.
Color it orange. Very important. Color it orange.
I love this
Excellent.
book. Love this book. I love Natalie. We'll let you know when volume 2 is available for you. It's a great collection of recipes that benefits a good cause. So check out the link in show notes and get your copy now. And we'll let Natalie kick us off at our on location episode recorded in Chicago at our Airbnb earlier this summer. Hey, listen, take it away, Natalie.
Hello, I am your guest host this week. My name is Natalie Slater, and I am here with the regular host of the show. He's the lasagna to my Garfield, Dustin Harder.
Yes! Oh, there's nobody else's lasagna to their Garfield I would rather be.
Yeah,
I love
high
that.
praise.
I love that. Is very high praise, and I appreciate it. I'm grateful and honored you are here. Thank you for doing this.
Of course. So, Dustin, you and I have sat down 2 other times now on this podcast.
Yes.
The first time to discuss my book,
Yep.
Bake and Destroy, Good Food for Bad Vegans.
Fantastic book.
And then more recently, we talked about my favorite and most used cookbook, Vegan Brunch by Isa Chandra Moskowitz.
Yes, also a very good book.
So today, since you and your lovely husband David are in my hometown, Chicago,
We are here.
I thought it would be fun if we swapped seats and I talked to you about your book that sort of brought us together and made us besties.
Yes.
So today we're going to talk about Epic Vegan,
Dun, 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 dun.
Wild and Over-the-Top Plant-Based Recipes by Dustin Harder.
I'm so excited. I can't wait.
So Dustin, welcome to your show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so let me introduce Dustin on his own podcast to his own audience.
I just want to say I really like what you've done with the place, Natalie.
Dustin Harder is the host and creator of the original vegan travel series, The Vegan Roadie, host of this podcast, Keep On Cookin', and the author of 3 and soon to be 4, correct?
Yes.
Plant-based cookbooks. He is a vegan chef and instructor, as well as the culinary specialist for the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. Dustin's been featured in a list of publications that is 1 mile long, has appeared on Food Network's Girl Scout Baking Championship, where he showcased vegan baking paired with Girl Scout cookies. And have we ever talked about our Food Network experiences? Did we talk about that on my episode?
Yes.
Okay.
In your, because
we got into it.
I think we dug deep in the episode,
Right.
Your first episode.
I felt like we did, but I was like, but did we record it, or was that just tea?
I think it's out there. We'll have to go back and check, because I remember us doing that episode and we did talk longer after, but I think we did get into it.
Yeah. Okay. Just making sure. And then, of course, today we are going to flash back to 2019 to talk about Dustin's second book, like I said, Epic Vegan, Wild and Over-the-Top Plant-Based Recipes. But first, in the spirit of your podcast, an icebreaker question.
Ooh.
Dustin, what is the most over-the-top vegan meal you've ever had?
Ever had.
Preferably that you didn't make, but if you made it, that's
right.
okay.
That's what I'm trying to think of. Most over the top vegan meal I've ever had. I'm having all of these flashes of things because I'm trying to put together, like, I don't feel like this is the most over the top, but it was one of the, like, it is over the top, but, like, see, in my brain, I'm trying to think of, like, combinations when you say that.
Sure.
But in Amsterdam, there is this pancake place, and I think it's called Stacks. I mean, sounds about right.
Okay.
But it's these souffle pancakes.
Mhm.
And it was like 4 or 5 of them stacked up on top of each other, and
Oh,
they
wow.
put a steak knife in it, but they do them up like all, like, this one had like swirls of like fresh made cotton candy on it and like edible flowers and sauces poured all over it. So that's what came to mind
Yeah.
first, amidst, like, it's almost like it was some sort of PTSD when you were like, what's the most over? I was like, all
Your
these
life
things were
flashed
flashing.
before your
I was
eyes.
like, I see lots of lasagnas and pizzas stacked on top of each other. I don't know, but the pancakes are memorable to
Yeah.
me. They're not as crazy, I don't think, but they were definitely over the top.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if the Dutch really get like wild with their
Right.
anything.
Right. Yeah.
But that sounds incredible.
It was amazing.
I'll tell you, my
I want to
most over the
know.
top is kind of recent. I visited my family in Minneapolis, and we went to Irby Butcher's fried chicken.
Continue. I'm getting excited already.
Okay, I was determined to get a bucket of food. As a vegan,
As you should.
You don't get many opportunities to eat food out of a bucket.
What we've been waiting for all this time.
Truly. And my uncle was like the bucket, the bottom of the bucket is filled with tater tots, and he was just like, we're getting a bucket.
Yes, absolutely.
So we got the biggest bucket that you can get. There were only 4 of us. It was my aunt, my uncle, and my tiny grandma.
I remember photos from this, actually.
Yeah. I was in big trouble because I paid. I was in big trouble.
How dare you?
Yeah. My grandma like slapped me and everything.
Oh my gosh.
Just, joking. Like, as much as a
vicious
84-pound lady can slap you, but
yes.
But we got like 13 pieces, 4 sides, all the sauces, biscuits, of course. And my grandma and I are true ballers, so we also got milkshakes.
Oh my gosh, I love this so much.
And it was amazing. It was everything I wanted.
Well, so you got the bucket there, but don't they have the sandwich there? Because when you asked this question as well, I also thought of them, because don't they have the sandwich with that Kentucky Fried Chicken actually has, where it's like the bun is made out of chicken,
yes.
And then what's in the middle of it? Vegetables?
Yeah, I think like sandwich toppings maybe are like in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I really, really wanted to get the bowl, like the mashed potatoes and corn and all that. But
you were with everyone, you did
the bucket experience. Was so tempting. But I actually recently ate that bowl here at Herbivore.
I mean, come on, Chicago.
So
I love that.
Yeah,
that's great. They, just for everyone listening, if you want to know more about the Herbivorous Butcher, and what's the name of the chicken place?
Irby Butchers.
Irby Butchers. They're on an episode of Keep On Cookin', and that sandwich is on the cover of that book.
Yes.
Their cookbook.
Yeah.
So check it out.
So actually, the Herbivorous Butcher affiliations do not stop here.
They don't.
Because like I said, this book is kind of how you and I became friends. And that's all thanks to Laura Van Zant, who is the marketing maven over there at all things Herbivorous Butcher and Irby Fried Chicken and all of the things they do with the sanctuary. Like, she really handles all of that, all that biz.
And we love her.
And I love her. Yes. And so back in 2018, when you were promoting your first book, the Simply Vegan Cookbook, easy, healthy, fun, and filling plant-based recipes anyone can cook.
Yes.
So Laura sent me an email because I was working at a snack brand back then, and she said, my friend Dustin's going on tour. He's going to be giving out like vegan snacks and products and things on his tour. Let me hook you guys up. Maybe you can send him some stuff. And also, I just think that you two would really hit it off.
She wasn't wrong.
And so, I immediately followed you on Instagram. And of course, I saw you were working on recipes for Epic Vegan.
The craziness.
While you were touring for Easy Vegan,
Simply
right?
Vegan. Yep.
Simply Vegan. Yep. And so I saw the things you were working on, and I just thought, my gosh, my other half.
Yes.
Here
yes.
he is.
Oh.
And I think I had to comment a few times like food twins and just like
Yes.
things like that
Yes.
before you looked at my account and were like, oh yes, we love all the same foods.
All the same foods.
So, and really
we're mad scientists like that. Like we just want to put it all together.
Yeah. So, and that was kind of it. And we've been like besties ever since.
Absolutely. And I remember you were so kind too. I remember you taking a photo of, you got all into Simply Vegan and you were all about it. And you took a photo of the nachos for me that I still use to this day sometimes for items when I do classes with that book and everything. Because that publisher, shall not be named, is not big on doing a lot of photos. So like I needed photos for that. And I remember you were going to use the nachos for something. You were like, it's cool, I'll photograph it. And I love the photo. It was so good. And I just was like, oh, this is the kindest thing anyone's ever done for me. Until today, when you brought me vegan breakfast. Now you have topped yourself. You brought me actual food. So winning in all counts.
Oh, I love that. Well, so before we like really start to dig in, I think something that really stood out to me between your first book and this book is like a very noticeable vibe shift, right? So obviously in the first book, you're really focused on like approachable, like simple, kind of health focused. So I'm curious, when you were writing that book, did you know you had this one in you, or how did this one come about?
So when I originally, that's a great question. When I started, when I signed with a literary agent, I started pushing an idea around for a book called terrible title, Unchained Vegan, which was meant to be basically chain restaurant recipes veganized, which has now been done by it's called Fast Food Vegan or Vegan Fast Food, the burger dude, Brian Watson. He's also been on the podcast. It's such a great book. It's a fantastic book. And so I had this idea where I was like, I want to take chain food and make it all vegan. But I was thinking like Applebee's, Bennigan's, whatever, you name the restaurants, Chi-Chi's, all that.
Sure.
And so I was pushing this idea around and nobody was buying into it. And then I was kind of ready to give up on the idea. And then this other publisher approached me and they had the idea for Simply Vegan.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, actually, this would make more sense for me to do sort of like a bare bones book first, as opposed to coming at the world with this crazy over the top book. Right.
Yeah.
And I was also feeling very defeated on the Epic Vegan book. So I took the contract to do Simply Vegan. And I love that I got to do that book because it really did set me up. The recipes in Epic Vegan, as you know, like, I mean, they can be involved. So writing this, I don't want to say easier, but like this more approachable one first sort of gave me like a nice sort of background on writing recipes before I really dove into it here.
Yeah.
And then I kind of stepped back on Epic Vegan and I was, I Unchained Vegan. What a terrible, terrible title. It's so bad. I stepped back on it. And then I remember I was on a flight on the Simply Vegan book tour. And I was like, okay, do I start pushing Epic Vegan again? And I was like, or Unchained, whatever it was going to be called. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And I sat down on a flight and in front of me on the in-flight magazine were those like big over the top milk, like on the cover was like one of those like over the top milkshakes that's like stuffed full of cookies and brownies and stuff. And I still have that magazine. I took it with me because I was like, this is a sign. I was like, keep going. Like, I need to do this book. So that's sort of then how that came.
Okay.
I kept pushing at it then and I retitled it and all that stuff like that.
Got it. That's so interesting. I was really curious, like if you, I feel like I had a similar experience with publishers where when I told them my ideas of like, well, this is a bread salad, but it's inspired by a Southern professional wrestler from the 1970s. So all of the ingredients are Southern and the bread part is cornbread.
Yeah.
They were like, that's insane. Nobody asked for that. No, thank you. Come back to us when you want to write a book about like salads.
Right. Of course. But, like everyone, like, why would that's a book everyone else is already doing.
Yeah.
You know,
I get it because you don't always reach for the craziest book in your cupboard. But I think, and we'll dive in, but I think that's why this book is so fun, because the way you designed it is that it doesn't have to be
Totally.
the burger with 47 other things on it. It can be just, you can just make the burger,
Right.
but you can also make the burger into like, you can do a cinnamon roll burger.
Yes.
Like there's, you know,
Yes.
so I like the way you describe it as choose your own adventure.
Yes.
And I think that's exactly right. And I love that, because you can make it as epic or as like everyday as you want.
Yeah, and I tried to, and I appreciate you saying that, because the other thing I tried to do in this book, and I don't want to jump ahead, you may mention this, but just in case I'm going to say it, because I was proud of this, like I created the first few chapters where you can pull recipes, make single recipes, but even when you're putting stuff together in the bigger ones, you can buy it from the store if you want,
Yes.
or you can make it from scratch.
Yes.
So I was proud of I feel to me that makes it approachable for anyone. If you're a
Absolutely.
convenience cook and just grabbing stuff and cooking it, or if you're someone who wants to make everything from scratch.
Right. And I do want to talk about that for sure. So let's dive in.
Yes.
Okay. So in this book, in the introduction, you kind of give, look
at the scribbles.
Mine is for the people watching
The
on
scribbles.
YouTube. Mine is autographed.
I was very specific about having a silver Sharpie for those purple pages.
So in the introduction, you define epic food as sort of Instagram-worthy stunt foods that combine cuisines, kind of stack recipes on top of each other. And you go on to explain that the book, like I said, is choose your own adventure. So you can start really simple with one recipe, and then you can kind of start to combine the recipes to make really epic recipes. So we sort of touched on this, but let's talk about it a little more in depth. I like to think of these as like recipe Legos that you can kind of put together, take apart, rearrange.
Yes.
How did you come up with the idea to sort of make all these recipes that can work together in different ways?
I wanted to make it functional, right? So I feel like like everyone else in the world, if I pick up a book and I look at one recipe that says, oh, you have to make these 3 other recipes to make this one thing, I'm like, I don't want to do this then. Forget about it.
Right.
So as I started writing it, I saw that was the kind of book I was writing. And I was like, oh, man. So then I was like, well, what if I make all of the single recipes that come together actually functional on their own? Like there's a chili in the front, there's a mac and cheese in the front, there's tofu fish in the front, there's a burger in the front that you can turn into meatballs, and I think sausage patties, like breakfast patties. So like that was my thought was, well, if I can make the main recipes as functional as possible, you're kind of getting 2 cookbooks in one. You're getting a few chapters where you can just go, oh, I need to make that for a weeknight meal. Like that chili in there is the easiest chili you could make. Or you can even take the leftovers from it then, and you can be like, oh, well, now I want to put it on these chili cheese fries,
Right.
So like I just wanted to make it as functional as it was fun, essentially.
Smart. Yeah, I love that. And you did mention it, but also in the introduction, there is a list of like store-bought sort of shortcuts that you can make. And I think that it's really makes the book very approachable for people to kind of get permission from the author.
Sure.
Like, I've given you recipes for, from scratch cheese, burgers, everything you could want, but also you can totally buy it from the store. So you touched on it a bit, but like, tell me a little bit more about sort of why you felt like that was something that you should spell out for people.
Yeah, I always think about it. It's sort of that thing again, where like, if I pick up a book, I get overwhelmed at having the different recipes, and I wanted to spell it out for exact the reason you said, like giving the home cook permission, because I think often home cooks will pick up a cookbook and be like, well, it has to be done this way. And my whole goal with writing cookbooks is to empower people in the kitchen,
right?
To make them feel not like, I want them to make a recipe once and go, oh, I liked it, but I maybe want to add olives next time.
Mm-hmm.
Or, ooh, I don't like mushrooms. Maybe I'll put something else in it instead.
Right.
So my goal is just always to sort of make it as approachable as possible. But I think it's important for the home cook to feel like they can sort of choose their own adventure, but also you really just nailed it when you said it gives the permission, right? Like we want to hear from whoever the authority is writing the book that they're saying it's okay to do that. You don't have to make my burger patty in the front.
Right.
You can, if you like Impossible Burgers, or you like Beyond, or you like Boca Burgers, hey, let's throw it back to Boca Burgers. If you like Boca Burgers, like get that and make the big burger on the cover. That's totally fine.
Right. Okay. Let's dive into
Yes!
chapter 1. So chapter 1 is Basic Betty, fundamental recipes. And this chapter gives us recipes such as quinoa bacon bits, hemp parmesan, easy creamy shells and cheese, lots of different kinds of protein. So there's fried chicken, there's burgers, chocolate chip cookie dough, a bunch of different egg replacements, fudgy AF brownies. And these are sort of the building blocks for the epic things to come.
Totally.
And when you dig into this book, I think like one of the things that stands out to me that's so different and so cool is that each recipe has a tip. So the tip could be anything from substitutions, like you said, if you don't like mushrooms, try this. Or, if you don't have this, try this. If you're allergic to whatever, then here's a substitution. But it could also be sort of like a multitasking tip on how to use your time wisely. Like while the pasta's cooking, do this other step or something, which is really smart too. And then there is the create your epic part, which is really what makes this book different. And that is the section where you learn what else you can do with each recipe and what page you can find that recipe on as well. So, for example, there is a crab rangoon recipe in this chapter that kind of, I call it snowballs throughout the book and ends up at one point as a crab rangoon pizza.
That's so true. That's funny.
Which is so smart. And this is like, ever since I got my hands on this book, something I've been curious about. How did you work this out? Like, did you start with the kind of most epic version of a recipe and then work backwards into the components? Or did you decide on basics that recipes everyone should know and then build them up into something epic?
Yeah, when I started researching, I knew there were some things I definitely wanted in this book, but I did look up, I Googled a lot of like weird food combinations. What's like the weirdest food to put together? But when it comes to what came first, the wacky recipe or the fundamental recipe, something like this crab rangoon pizza, for example, David had delicious. She's showing a picture of the crab rangoon for listeners. Go check it out on YouTube. David had been on tour and he went to this pizza place that had all these fusion pizzas.
Okay.
And he would not stop talking about this crab rangoon pizza. And do you guys have crab rangoon here?
Yes.
Okay. So it's interesting because in New York, there's no crab rangoon on any menus.
Is it Midwestern? Because you mentioned Michigan.
I had it in Michigan as a kid all the time.
Yeah.
So I knew what it was. And when David came back, it was somewhere in the Midwest. He had been on tour and he had this pizza. And I was like, I have to make a vegan version of that crab rangoon pizza. So that's sort of where that was born. So I think for the most part, the wacky idea came first. And then I thought, well, what other ways can I use this in the book? And what is a main component from it? Am I creating something where I can put it in the fundamental and there will be sort of a base recipe that can be used as well?
Smart.
Thank you, Natalie.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of we're going to breeze through some of the chapters because there's 10 of them to talk about. And I have some questions for each one.
Yeah.
So chapter 2 is sauced up sauces and dips for slathering and dipping.
Mm-hmm.
This chapter offers 15 recipes, some sweet, some savory. You're going to find everything from like a beet marinara to a silky sunflower caramel sauce. What are your favorite sweet and savory recipes from this chapter?
So the cheesiest cheese sauce is in here. And I think you know this about me. I'm a macaroni and cheese fanatic.
Yes.
Maybe not as much as I used to be, but especially during this time in my life. I mean, you might say I went to culinary school just because I was like, I'm going to figure out how to make the best mac and cheese ever, best vegan mac and cheese ever. So the cheesiest cheese sauce, this is my favorite. There's a cheese sauce in all of my books. This one is my absolute hands down favorite cheese sauce that I've ever done. You're on the Saucy Mozzarella page. I still make that when I make a pizza these days. There's a coconut cheddar fondue in there that goes with some waffles, but I make that coconut cheddar fondue for like anything. It's so good. And then the sweet one I still make to this day is the sunflower caramel sauce. I just love it. It's like a no fail caramel sauce because, if you're making just basic caramel, you got to like put the sugar in the pan and like make sure you're watching it and everything. This is like a variation where you can like put the items in, stir it together, melt it a little bit. You're good to go.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
I was going to ask you of all the cheeses, which one was your fave, but it sounds like the
cheesiest cheese sauce.
Yeah.
Hands down. I still love it to this day. We're actually, we've got this will come out after probably, but we have our conference coming up with PCRM and I did an oil-free variation of it for a dinner, one of the dinners during the conference even.
Nice.
Yeah.
You can't beat just like a classic, easy cheese sauce recipe that you can just memorize. And if you want to make it spicy, you can throw some spice in it. If you want to, you can switch it up so easily. It's a classic.
There are some things that I might change about this one now, because it does require boiling some ingredients and sauteing some ingredients. And as we've evolved as recipe creators over time, my brain now is like, I can probably do this in one pot. Like I can probably make this happen in one pot, but at the same time, it still isn't an aggressive amount of work. Like it's still pretty easy to accomplish.
Yeah. Well, before we move on to the next chapter, for those of you watching on YouTube, I just want to take a moment to appreciate this photo of Dustin on page 49, where he is wearing a beret.
Oh my gosh, the lifestyle shots.
Lips pursed.
Yes.
And you have an array of sauces on an artist palette.
Because I'm an artiste, Natalie.
And I just really love, I love all of the portraits. This book has so many cute portraits of you.
We lost our minds doing that photo shoot. We did all those in one day.
It looks like it was so fun.
It was a blast, and I had some really great people on the shoot with me that day. Shout out to Taryn. And of course my husband David was there, but we had a great photographer and everything. But it was like I was in charge of showing up on camera, my wardrobe, and styling the food that day and cooking it the 2 days before. So it's kind of that thing where you're just like, did it happen? Oh, it happened. Good. Okay, we have some photos to use. Great. Okay.
I love it. I love it so much. We did I only did an author photo for my
and the best author photos ever.
Well, I worked with a photographer from Threadless.
Oh, amazing.
And so I shot it at the Threadless headquarters.
Oh, that's
so that
awesome.
was really, we used all their backdrops and everything. It was really
great.
fun.
You have like a cupcake hat on, don't you?
Yes. I had a cupcake hat. My friend Mo, who is kind of becoming like a famous drag queen now, did my makeup.
Amazing.
And so it was
that so much.
I had like a custom made pizza print dress.
You're the custom made what?
My dress had the print was pizzas, little pizzas, and it was all the fabric was custom, the dress was custom.
The design of your book, I often get jealous of because I look at it and it's just so personal. It's so you, and it's so fun, and it's just like with all of the like what do you call it?
Like the little doodles.
Yeah, thank you. I was doodling everyone with my hand. It's just so perfect. It really is. And so fun. Yeah.
I feel like when I was asking you about like sort of the vibe shift between the first and second, you were like describing how this was kind of like the book you had inside you that you wanted to write, but you sort of had to write the first one to be able to write the second one.
That's exactly right.
I just sort of insisted on writing the second one. I wouldn't write the first one. And so that's how I ended up with like doodles of like Mexican wrestling masks and hot dogs and like video game controllers.
That's
and just
so funny.
Weird. I know that people don't make 80% of their recipes because they're so strange and crazy.
I love them.
But like, I think that's because I skipped a step and I just was like, no.
That is so funny.
I'm not gonna.
Well, I will tell you that literary agent who I no longer have, she did not want me to do that first book. She was like, I don't think this is a good idea. And I was like, I hear you, but I think it's important for me as a learning tool almost, you know? And now I look back on that first book and I'm so proud of it. And I think it has held a place for people where they DM me and they say this like allowed me to like stay vegan. Like when I didn't, you know what I mean? It's one of those for people. So it's like, the universe just worked out and brought it to me at just the right time.
Yeah,
you know?
I think you did it right. I'm not saying that you should just bully your way into the second. I feel like publishers do know things.
Sure. Sometimes. Yes. But yes, we love publishers.
I just chose not to listen.
I hear you.
So chapter 3 is Brazen Breads, all the dough you need. Of course, need being with a K. We love a food pun.
Absolutely.
And so keeping with the sweet and savory theme, we get a mix here of pretzel dough, pizza dough, and then of course like donuts and cinnamon rolls, waffles. And each one, just like the first 2 chapters, is a standalone recipe. So you can totally make pretzels or donuts or whatever on their own, but then you can also amp up the drama and turn things like the Krispy Kreme donuts with C's, not K's, into a breakfast sandwich or a milkshake. And this got me thinking about how many people I talk to who are just terrified to bake. Like they'll cook all day long, but they are terrified to bake. So what do you think is so intimidating about baking? And what did you do to try to make that more approachable in this chapter?
I think it's the science, right? Baking's one of those things. If you're sauteing something, if you're doing a stir fry or something, if it goes wrong, you can always sort of be like, by wrong, I mean like, what is it, too spicy? Well, okay, if it's too spicy, let's add some more vegetable into it to like disperse the spice a little more. Did I burn the tofu? Great. Then we have a rustic, delicious tofu now, as opposed to, a lightly sauteed tofu. Like there's a way to spin it if you're doing something that's not baking. Baking, if it goes wrong, I think people are scared of burning things. I think they're scared that, things are not going to rise. And that's always the case. There's still times, when I go to proof some dough or something and it doesn't rise, and that's really the yeast. It's not me most of the time.
Right.
And I think baking is just intimidating on that level, like the science of it and the feeling like you're putting the effort into it and it could go wrong. You know?
Yeah, people are scared to fail.
Yeah, exactly. That's like a nice soundbite way of putting that. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah, and baking, the chances of failure are higher.
Yeah.
It is, like you said, it is easier to sort of hide your mistakes when you're cooking, but I feel like with baking, and I think you have a lot of clever ideas in here that can probably help people get around some of those mistakes, but I think you can hide your mistakes in baking too.
Sure.
Like I've had a good example, muffins that turned out too dry. I cut them in half, I dip them in custard, and I French toast them.
Come on, everybody.
French toast as a verb, by the way.
Yes. That is exactly right. That is very good.
But you can turn 90% of baking mistakes into French toast or a sandwich.
Well, and that's sort of like, oh, I love that too. Oh, so good. Just maybe Epic Vegan 3, Natalie and Dustin coming at you. Epic Vegan, Bake and Destroy. That'll be that. Yes. One of my mentors, Chloe Coscarelli, in one of her earlier books, she talks about bringing the brownies did not get baked all the way through for her party that her mom and her were doing. And she just called them fudgy brownies because they had like fudgy inside, like gooey insides. And I was like, oh, you just have to spin it. Like you just have to spin it. Like any mistake can be spun. You can French toast it, which I think is genius. We can make a French toast brownie with that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like so many things you can do to spin the baked good to still make it salvageable.
Yeah, agree. And like I said, I think there's a lot of good ideas in here that would still work, even if your baked good maybe didn't turn out exactly the way you want. Like if you're cutting it in half and using it as a bun anyway, it's fine.
Yep.
No one knows what it's supposed to be like.
Right. Exactly.
So
exactly.
No one's going to know.
Right.
So, okay. Chapter 4 is when we take these building block chapters that you've established in the first 3, and we really start to get epic with them.
We get a little epic, get over the top.
So this chapter is, there's an app for that, nibbles and past bites for a crowd. And Dustin, you had me at mac and cheese pretzel bites. But I feel like we need to talk about breakfast nachos because that's a dish that we actually put on the specials menu at Liberation Kitchen here in Chicago.
Yes.
And for the record, famously, the only time Dan Stackman has ever allowed bell peppers in his kitchen because he does not like a bell pepper.
I was hoping you were going to mention. And did he eat it?
He did eat it.
Oh my! Yes. With the peppers.
With the peppers.
I am impressed.
Yeah.
I am impressed.
He commented on the peppers. Don't you worry. He had something to say about it.
Did he feel like they shouldn't have been there?
No. He just said, this is the only time bell peppers have ever been in this building.
That is so funny. That is so funny.
But yeah, I wanted to talk about the breakfast nachos because when I saw that recipe, I think in just like the galleys for the book before it was published, I looked at our menu at the restaurant and kind of what we already were making and tried to think about what is a special that we could do without having to bring in too many specialty ingredients.
Sure.
And this was so close. This was basically a combination of things that we do nachos, we do tofu scramble.
Yep. And then I imagine you guys used the cheese sauce that you had, right?
Yeah, we used our own.
So this is a perfect example of like using what you already had.
Right. We understood the assignment of this book.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, I thought we could just talk about that recipe for a minute since that's the one that we really zeroed in on.
So it's breakfast nachos. What do we have on it? We've got eggs. We've got sausage, I think, in the one in the book.
Right.
And I don't know what vegetables. Obviously, bell peppers.
Bell peppers. Famously bell peppers.
And the cheese. We've got the cheesiest cheese sauce on there. So it's a great opportunity to bring those together. Does that have pineapple on it in that picture?
Yes, there was. I believe there was. Yeah,
so like a pineapple?
Canned pineapple. Yeah.
What an interesting choice, Dustin.
But that's delicious.
I mean, it is delicious.
Yeah.
I think I was just surprised to see that just
so
now.
Yeah, it's bell pepper, sausage links. You've got your excellent eggs recipe. You could, again, like you could use just egg. You could use tofu scramble, like whatever your preference is. Cheesiest cheese sauce, taco seasoning, store-bought salsa, pineapple chunks. And then you have it served on blue corn chips, which I think really helps all those toppings pop.
Yeah, I just wanted
really
to be pretty. Yeah, so I got specific about the corn chips.
Yeah, and then red cabbage, and then you've got your avocado sour cream.
That's another one.
Microgreens. And we put this on the menu, and it was popular. People really liked it.
I had it when I was here, and it was delicious.
Yeah,
and thank you for doing that. But that book tour was awesome, and this was my favorite stop on it, mainly because you were here and you were with me. Like so many steps of the way on my visit here, like you helped me at the TV station. Then at Upton's, you had these nachos. It was just so great.
Well, yeah, it was really fun to it's like when you're thinking of specials at a restaurant, that's how most restaurants are coming up with their specials is like, what do we already have that we can just put together in a different way. Yep. So it was fun to do.
Yes. Yeah. And tasty. It was so good. Y'all did so good.
Thank you.
Plus I'm seeing the pineapple in there now, part of the salsa. So it was a pineapple salsa. Now that makes more sense to me. I was like, did I just throw straight up pineapple on there? And I'm like, oh, I mixed it with salsa. Now it makes more sense.
Okay. So chapter 5 is Monster Handhelds, Beastly Bites Fit for Kings and Queens. And this is the chapter that brings us the burger that's depicted on the cover. And so that is the bacon, macaroni and cheese, barbecue, blue burger.
I'm so glad you didn't ask me to tell you what the title of that was. I had to get myself ready on that book tour to be like, it's the barbecue bucket burger.
So this combines a lot of the recipes from earlier chapters. So you've got the easy creamy mac and cheese, the quinoa bacon bits, the all-American burger, the blue cheese dressing, and the red barbecue sauce, along with, of course, burger toppings. But again, this is one where there are lots of options for store-bought shortcuts. You could actually shortcut almost all of these now. Like most of these things are available in grocery stores. So you can kind of decide what you feel like making and what you feel like buying. But also, this is a burger that I did help you prep when you did WGN lunch break. And I think we used Beyond Burgers and Upton's Naturals Cheesy Mac as a couple of shortcut options. But was that your first time doing the lunch break show?
Yeah, that was my first time on there. Yes, yep.
And you've been back a few times since.
Yeah, I think just the one time because we did, COVID, that whole thing. And so it came back after that. Yeah.
And that's when I was your assistant. So
yes. Both times you were gracious to come with me.
And that was so fun.
Which puts me at ease. Thank you.
Well, I could spend the rest of my life talking about this chapter in particular because it's I think of all the chapters, this is maybe the most epic because it's
handhelds.
But I really want to know, has anyone ever tagged you and let you know that they made the bacon cinnamon roll burger with peanut butter? Because this is wild.
I knew where you were. I saw you flipping the page and I was like, she's going to ask me that. No one has. And let me tell you, this came about and this is one of the things, and this is a thought I've had when I was writing this book, and I'm like, oh my God, am I killing America? What am I doing? Here's this, it's a cinnamon roll, everyone, with the frosting on the top, with the bacon bits sprinkled on the top, but also peanut butter on it, and then a burger.
Yeah. Tell me, how did this even pop into your brain?
Well, so this is a good example of, I had all the components, right? I had the cinnamon roll, I had the burger, I had the bacon bits. And I was like, well, what's something else I can do with all the, trying to create more recipes so that the recipes in the front can be used for even more things. So this is how this one came about. And I was like, that's crazy. It's not going to be good. Oh my God, it's so delicious.
I mean, it sounds like it would work.
Am I running around and going to make it like today or anytime soon? No, but like if you want something special to sort of like wow people, I would even make these maybe for like a party and cut them into quarters and put little like sandwich picks in them,
Right.
maybe just so someone doesn't feel like they have to eat that whole thing, which is maybe just a good advice for this book in general. If you run into something where you're like, gosh, but the whole thing, cut it into quarters and like make it an appetizer for a party, because these are so delicious. And a funny story about that photo too. My dear friend Ashley Madden did the photography for this book, and this was like her first, I think, like big project.
Mm-hmm.
And she was very stressed out, like rightfully so, because these pictures are massive. Like everything,
yeah, like
requires so much,
food.
right? She sends me the photos for this, and she was all excited, and she forgot to put the bacon bits on the top of the sandwich. And I was like, so Ashley, there's just a small problem. And she was like, oh my God. She goes, I have to do it over, don't I? I was like, I mean, I don't want to say that, but yeah, because it's called the bacon, like bacon's in the title. I was like, so yeah. So she had to shoot it over, and I feel terrible, but the photo's so great. She did such a, I mean, Ashley,
it looks
a
delicious.
dream. But anyways, this burger's really one of the most delicious things I've ever had. It's so tasty.
That's the kind of, that is the kind of dish that everyone goes for at like a vegan food fair.
Yes.
And that's like what everyone's Instagramming.
Yes.
And like everyone will comment like there's no healthy options, but then everyone's Instagramming the cinnamon roll burger.
Right. No one's going to Instagram like the salad. Like
right.
There is one salad in this book. I don't know if we get to it. I made it as epic as I could, but anyway. Oh, there's 2 salads. There's 2.
Okay. Make sure you if I don't cover them, make sure you call them out. So the salads get their day.
They're very good. One of them is so good, but anyway.
Okay, so chapter 6 is Pizza. Jesus, take the wheel. That might be my favorite subtitle. And so obviously this chapter is about pizza. And before we talk about the Deep Dish Brunch Pizza, which we had a total mind meld over,
yes.
I just want to know what made you decide that pizza should get its own chapter.
Well, there's items like that in this book. So like pizza needed its own chapter and milkshakes needed their own chapter.
Right.
And I think for me, pizza, it stems from David having that, coming home with that. I had this crab rangoon pizza, and me being like, oh my gosh, I need to veganize it. And that just made me think, well, what other stuff is there to do with pizza? And I think there's a meatball pizza in there with a stuffed crust.
Right.
So I immediately was thinking of that. And then I was like, well, clearly there just needs to be a whole pizza chapter, because pizza could have easily went into, I could have just had a couple pizzas and they could have been in the handhelds chapter. Right. But I think it was my opportunity. I love pizza. Like there could be a whole macaroni and cheese chapter, you know what I mean? Yeah. But like, I love pizza so much that I was like, this is my opportunity to like share my love of that thing that I feel like almost everyone loves. So like, let me do a whole pizza chapter.
Yeah. Pizza is like a canvas too. Like you can put whatever you want on it and it's still pizza.
Yes.
So you can really get epic.
Yes, exactly. The epicness of it is endless.
So for our food twin moment, I had to talk about the brunch pizza.
Yes.
Because obviously my book came out in 2013. So in vegan years, it's a kind of a dinosaur. And I had a brunch pizza recipe that I know you hadn't seen. Amazing. But there's obvious differences, of course.
But we're twinning at the same time.
But we both did a biscuit crust.
Yes.
We both topped it with like some kind of, egg. I did a tofu scramble. Mm-hmm. And then we both put gravy on it.
Delicious.
And I just love that.
I want it right now.
I don't even really have questions. I'm just like, I just really appreciate that about both of us.
I do too. Everyone needs a deep dish brunch pizza in their life.
Well, it's great too, because it's like such a good make ahead. Like honestly, if you're serving brunch, you need to do as many make ahead things as you can. So you're not freaking out when people are hungry and at your house.
Yes.
And this is a good one because you can
effortlessly serve.
Yeah. You can make everything ahead of time and then just like warm the whole thing up.
Yep.
So we've had a lot of conversations about if and when you move to Chicago.
Yes. Yes. When? Let's manifest.
When that we're going to brunch together. We will have brunches.
Absolutely.
And so I feel like
I'm looking forward to
this will be part of it. The deep dish brunch pizza.
We could host brunch, Natalie. I'm not gonna hold you to anything right now, but I'm just saying we could host quite the brunch event.
We could. I like how everything turns into like a business opportunity between the two of us.
Does that drive you crazy with
No,
me? Because I
no.
feel like I'm Marco Poloing you every other day being like, we could X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah,
No,
blah,
I
blah.
do that. I do that to myself even without.
Okay, good. Then
yeah.
it's just like, okay, great.
I
Okay.
was telling, this is going to sound really braggy, but I had dinner with Dr. Kat, epidemiologist, the other night.
Yes.
And
Such a bragger.
I know, name drop. And we were talking about, she was saying that after her yoga class, she saw they had teacher training and she was like, oh,
Should
I like yoga. Maybe I should do
know.
that. This woman has a PhD in public health and she's thinking about yoga teacher training because she doesn't have enough to do.
I get it.
And I told her that there's a dance school in the neighborhood and I walked by and I saw that they have like adult ballet classes.
Yes.
And I took ballet in like as a child and on my way home between looking at that and thinking maybe I'll take like one class a week. By the time I got home, I had already come up with like what my ballet Instagram would be, that I was going to start like a 40 plus like ballet dance troupe. And
I love it.
I had like this whole other life for myself where I was a professional late in life ballerina.
I'm so into that for you.
And then I got home to my actual life and job and like home responsibilities and was like, what am I talking about?
No, but I'm familiar with this because every time, so there have been 3 different, I got really into fitness at Mark Fisher Fitness in New York. Then I've done Orange Theory before, and then I did CrossFit for a while. And every time I started, I'm like, maybe I could be an instructor. I could be an instructor here. And like, I'm not opposed to it. I get into it. Like I'm here for it, but also I'm like, Dustin, you got enough to do right now.
Right.
Like maybe don't add another thing on. Like that is the story of my life in my head all the time.
Why are we like this?
I don't know. We're searching for something is the thing.
Yeah.
So I hope we find it.
Yeah. But I, all that being said, I do think we could put on a really fun brunch.
Absolutely.
And I want to do a vegan Italian pop-up too.
Listen, this dreams are happening right now for me. That's all I'm saying, because these are all the things I've ever wanted you to say to me. If that's an invitation, if that is an invitation, I am here to collaborate with you specifically.
Okay. Don't steal our ideas.
Yeah, watch out, Chicago. It's coming. Listen, nobody can do it like we can, so we will deliver the way we deliver.
That's true. Okay. Let's keep this train moving.
Yes. We'll have a meeting after. We'll have a meeting after.
Yeah.
Business meeting after.
Yeah. We'll start what we'll do is we'll start a separate podcast where we just talk about our business ideas.
All of our business ideas.
And our podcast ideas.
Exactly. Yes. Good.
Okay. So Chapter 7. Pasta paradise. The possibilities are endless. So I feel like pasta is such a good gateway into vegan cooking because obviously you can make it fancy, but you can also just boil water and put some sauce on it and you have a vegan meal.
Yes.
So which recipe from this chapter would you recommend for like the newbie vegan cook?
Okay, I'm gonna recommend the David's Carby Carbonara.
Oh, okay.
I love all these so much. Oh gosh, see, you're flipping through, and I'm just like in love.
I mean, yeah. I'm gonna just call some of these out. There's a buffalo chicken lasagna,
which is so good, everybody. It's this blue cheese base with tofu, and then I think you're using store-bought vegan chicken, or you can make the seitan from the front of the book, layered with buffalo sauce and mozzarella and lasagna.
A French onion pasta bake with pizza croutons.
Probably one of my favorite things.
I mean, yeah, there's nothing
creamy
in here.
jambalaya with crispy chicken. So good. You use the seitan from the front of the book. There's a baked spaghetti meatball pie.
Lobster mac and cheese. I mean, there's so much.
But I will say, so with David's Carby Carbonara, it's just an easy one to get at. And the bacon bits that are in it, you can use store-bought bacon, perhaps from Upton's Naturals. But you can also make the bacon bits in the book, and they're just really easy to make. It's quinoa with some spices. That's it.
Even just when you open to this page for David's Carby Carbonara, like you don't get that instant like intimidation factor.
Right, where you're overwhelmed by something.
Like it is simple. Like it's store-bought spaghetti. The sauce is minimal ingredients, and the quinoa bacon bits are easy to put together, but like you said, you can totally just grab something from the store too. So
I will say with this too, since people are listening, hopefully you're listening, I've made this so many times since this recipe has come about. I think I say to save some of the cooking water in there, but if I don't, I think I do. But save a little more than what I say, even because depending on your pasta, you know, sometimes you want to make it a little saucier. It's still saucy enough, but like I've ended up liking it saucier as years have passed. But I've made this recipe a bunch of times.
Okay,
I've
hot
put this
tip.
out.
Good
Hot tip.
Yeah. So speaking actually of this recipe, and for those of you watching on YouTube, this cutest picture ever.
It's like
do you have this photo? Like,
I don't have it framed, but I've used it for so many things.
It's the cutest. It's for everyone listening. It's David and Dustin lady and tramping some spaghetti.
Yes.
And it's just adorable.
And look at that tablecloth. We pulled out the sauce.
I love it.
We made it Italian.
Yes.
We just did a photo shoot together and we were trying to figure out different things to do. And we were like, we can't do the pasta one again, but I think we ended up doing it because we were like, it's just so good. Like, how can you not?
It's so cute.
We had a bowl of spaghetti in front of us. So we were like, we just have to do it.
I could never get Tony to do this. I could do them with you and David, maybe.
Ooh, that's going to be good for our pop-up advertising. That's very good.
Always thinking. Such a good
Business.
marketer.
Business.
So actually, speaking of this recipe, your lovely husband, David, who helped us get set up today.
Yes.
David Rossetti, Italian hands.
Rossetti.
You mentioned in the intro for this that David helped you by eating a lot of carbonara as you were working on this recipe.
Yes.
And I was just curious, how much carbonara do you think David ate?
I mean, here's the thing. I will test recipes and sometimes they get donated to neighbors or they get donated. There's like a community like fridge in our neighborhood I'll take them to sometimes. And actually when I wrote this book, I had 2 people that would come by my house and pick up food in to-go containers and take it to the streets and give it to people experiencing homelessness.
So nice.
But in this case, sometimes there's a recipe David loves so much where he's like, that's staying here. And so this one, every time I made it, he's like, no, that's staying here. Like I love that. Take that to work or I'll eat it here, like whatever. So this one he ate quite a bit of.
Nice.
Which is why one of the reasons it's got his name is on.
So cute. When I was writing my book, Tony was working at a skateboard distributor and there were actually a lot of vegans there.
Nice.
And so he brought almost everything I made would
Great.
get packed up and brought in and just a bunch of skateboarders would eat it. And I would get feedback on like their favorite.
So good.
I have a deep fried cream corn recipe in that book.
Delicious.
And that was one that like he came back and was like,
so good.
Everybody freaked out about that.
I can't wait to make that. There's so many with your book. I go in there, the Twinkies I want to make. There's like a pink Twinkie, isn't there?
Like a fruit punch Twinkie.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah. There used to be a vegan bakery in Ohio, and I was friendly with the lady who ran it. And when she would come to Chicago, she would drop off, and she would do all different flavors of Twinkies. And like and she just used like Kool-Aid powder. So that's what the recipe calls for too. So you can literally do any flavor that you want. It's
Kool-Aid.
just a yellow sponge
Such a
cake.
blast from the past. That Kool-Aid. What do you use for the cream filling?
I think that at the time it was just like shortening,
you know, like a frosting.
Yeah. But like now you can buy marshmallow fluff. So you could totally do that instead.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay. I don't want to let the pasta chapter go without also mentioning that there is a dessert pasta.
Yes.
The chocolate chickpea ravioli. Tell me about that. Like where did that idea come from?
We were filming in Italy for season 3 of the Vegan Roadie, and we did this segment. So in the first 2 seasons of the Vegan Roadie, when it ends, we do a 5-ingredient challenge, and sometimes it was based on a recipe I saw at a restaurant or something like that. But in Italy, we did cooking with the familia, and I cooked in different families' homes. And a woman was making a dessert ravioli, and I think the filling was made with chestnuts or something originally.
Oh, okay.
And so that's a like a chocolate chestnut filling.
Yeah.
And then I just took the ravioli and I made a chocolate chickpea base to put inside. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And now you can buy chocolate hummus.
And that would be exactly
which you could totally use.
Yep,
yeah,
you could put that in there.
Yep. And the pasta is sweet too because it has maple syrup and so the whole thing is sweet.
Yeah, and you know this is one of those things where it's like if you really want to wow your dinner guests, make them some like dessert ravioli.
Yeah,
it's a little involved, but that's one of those things. Sometimes to get the really cool things, you have to roll your sleeves up a little bit,
right?
You know?
Maybe that'll be on the menu at our Italian.
I
potluck.
mean, did you see one large fried chocolate ravioli that comes to the
Oh.
table with like some sauces drizzled?
Yeah, like a
See?
shared. Yeah,
We're in it.
love it.
This is good.
So, okay, chapter 8 is bowls of stuff. Fork it, spoon it, slurp it. I feel like this is a mini mind meld moment, because there wasn't a bowl of stuff referenced in my book at all, but bowl of stuff is what Tony and I have called our random dinner bowls forever. And I would post a picture of my bowl of stuff online and then get like the recipe 7 question marks comment, and there wasn't one because it's just a bowl of stuff.
Mhm.
So I wrote like a little guide of like how to build a bowl of stuff on my blog, and it was at the time like one of my most popular.
So good.
And then also I think our queen Isa
Yes, the queen. All hail.
also has a bowl of stuff like reference in one of her older books.
Yeah.
So how would you define a bowl of stuff?
Anything that's going to go in a bowl. If it's going to be a soup, if it's going to be a bowl that you're creating. I think both salads are in this chapter. So to me, a salad, it can go on a plate, but often in a bowl, and perhaps a smoothie bowl, which is not in this book, but anything like that sort of.
Right. So it can be, so you've got soups and salads, but you have,
or perhaps where the bowl is made out of pretzel dough.
Exactly.
Then we've got a
which
bowl
I
as
absolutely
well.
want to talk about. But I love how your brain works. I really do, because
I've been waiting years for somebody to say
chicken
that
noodle
to me.
soup, obviously, like everyone loves a chicken noodle soup and like a great chicken noodle soup recipe. But then you said, what about a fried chicken noodle soup?
Because I'm bananas.
And the world said, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And and that's like so prevalent in your recipes, where there's like a great idea, but then there's a twist that's just so smart and a little crazy, but in a way that works.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
So like the Keeping It Clean bowl, perfect example. First of all, this photo is so beautiful.
I love that photo. Way to go, Ashley.
It's just so beautiful.
And it looks epic, right?
Really.
And so this was in this chapter 2, when you're asking me what makes a bowl, sometimes the bowl makes the bowl. So for the Keeping It Clean bowl, literally came about towards the end of writing the book. I was like, I need like an actual very healthy, like I just need one healthy item in here. And it's the Keeping It Clean bowl. And literally the bowl is made out of an entire head of iceberg lettuce.
Yeah.
So and like you're hollowing it out to make a bowl.
Looking.
Yeah, she did great. That looks fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I actually want to eat that right now.
I do too.
But so when you're talking about eating the bowl.
Yes.
Tino and I were looking at this picture yesterday together because he loves a bread bowl. My son Tino.
Love it.
Loaded baked potato soup with pretzel bowls. So I love how many edible bowls there are. There's the Keeping It Clean bowl is a head of lettuce. There's the pretzel bowl, the wonton bowls with garlic fried quinoa.
Love those.
You use the back of like a muffin tin to form little wonton cups.
Little wonton cup.
Love that too. I was just wondering, when are you going to write a book where there's edible utensils and just everything? Eat like epic vegan, eat it all.
My mind right now is like, that is a brilliant idea. I don't know, Natalie, when are we going to write that book?
It's waste free.
Ooh, this is why I'm pushing Natalie so hard to write a book with me. These brains come together. Waste free. How sustainable are we?
Right.
Creating these items you can just eat. Look at the good we do.
Exactly.
So good.
So, okay. Chapter 9 is when we get to shake it off. Chill sips for every occasion. So as I was going through your book, I had myself a little bit of a giggle because the last time we talked on this podcast, we talked about Vegan Brunch by Isa Chandra-Moskowitz, and we got to the drinks chapter. And we both were like, have you ever used a drinks chapter in a cookbook? And we were both like, no. But then we both also realized that we have drink chapters in our own books.
That was very funny.
So I thought that was really funny. But when we talk about this chapter, we're really talking about a lot of like big, wild milkshakes, like the ones you do see on like those Instagram famous like New York milkshake bar type places. Yep. We have one in Chicago. I've never been, but they have vegan options. Yes.
What are we doing today?
Yeah. So there are so many I mean, how do you even begin like to think about what goes into one of these
Well,
shakes?
so really the milkshake chapter was a must because that is the moment I had, like I was saying on the plane, where I saw that magazine and I was like, oh, milkshakes. Like, well, maybe. And that's when it went from Unchained Vegan to Epic Vegan. Because I was like, maybe it's not about, how do I maybe use these chain restaurant sort of like tropes in a different way. Like,
Right.
and that's when I started thinking, well, look at this milkshake. It's big and over the top. So that's how that came to life. And so I just started thinking of different fun ways to do milkshakes. And we did that, the brownie cookie one that you were on. What's it called? The
Sure.
ultimate caramel cookie brownie shake. We had an awesome book launch party at Orchard Grocer in New York. We did this shake. We did the, everything cauliflower bites. So those are cauliflower bites in this book with everything seasoning on them. And then we actually did the burger from the front of the cover.
That'd be a fun place to do a party.
It
like
was
that.
so fun. It
Yeah.
was great. And people were able to sort of, when you bought a ticket on Eventbrite, you could like pick the item that you wanted.
Oh, okay.
I was just thinking though, I mean, even though it's a soup, I think that bread bowl would have been cool. So the bread bowl we were talking about, everyone, actually comes from Bennigan's. Did you have a Bennigan's where you were?
Yes.
So I worked there for a couple years back in the day, and it had potato soup. So I was like, well, how do I put this potato soup in this book, but make it epic? And I was like, oh, pretzel bowl. So see, sometimes it was like the bigger idea, but that's an example of where like the chain restaurant idea came together with like, I had pretzels in the book, so I put those in there. But anyways, I was just thinking that would have been cute to have like a mini one at the party, but the milkshake was there. How do we come up with these? It was just an opportunity to really go bananas with milkshakes, right? I will tell you, David and I went sick testing this chapter. Because we would test a milkshake and we'd be like, oh my gosh, it's like, and I had like milkshake week where I was like, I'm going to knock these out. But we could only really take like a sip.
Yeah.
And they're all good. It's all ice cream. It's all sugar, but it was fun to test, but then we were like, oh, we don't feel so good.
I can see that happening.
Yeah, but it was cool. It was fun to do. I mean, so many different shakes to come up with. Are
you a milkshake? Like, do you order the milkshake if that's an option, or?
I don't so much anymore because I find, I mean, I don't know how this is for you, but when I go somewhere now and I get ice cream, I'm like, they're giving me like a pint of ice cream. Like this, I don't need to eat this. For me now, where I'm at in my adult life.
Sure.
And knowing how I feel after I eat, I'm like, I don't need a pint of ice cream right now,
Yeah.
Last night I did it and I actually felt great after.
Oh, you went to Vodka's.
Yes, I went to Vodka's, but even that,
favorite.
We got the regular size, right? And I'm like, this is like a pint of ice cream you just gave me, like in a cup, It was delicious and I ate it all. But so I love milkshakes, but I think it's more like a share item now,
right? I can see that.
Yeah.
Tony loves a milkshake.
I love them.
He actually stopped at Vodka's on his way home the
other
day.
Good.
Got himself
so
a milkshake.
Good.
And he got me a pint of tahini miso caramel pistachio. And it was amazing.
My gosh. See, I didn't even look at their pints last night because I was like, I don't want to take one home. I just want to get the ice cream I want to have.
When you're traveling, like when I travel, I always buy things like that and bring it to my Airbnb and then don't eat it because I'm like out the whole time.
Well, and like when I'm here and I go to Pai Pai and she's so sweet, you take me there and she'll give me like a little sample of this, that, and then I'm like, I have to eat these all now.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with it. Don't get me wrong. But
Yeah.
It's like that thing where I'm like, well, what am I going to do?
If we do a book together, we cannot tour unsupervised.
No.
Because like Tony and I went to New York for a week for our anniversary a few years ago, and we rented a car and we drove to Vegan Treats.
Oh.
I bought 3 cakes.
Yep.
Entire cakes. In addition to all the little things I bought.
I support. I mean.
And then we had 3 cakes that we had to eat.
Did you eat them all?
Yeah.
Good for you.
We ate cake for breakfast every morning.
So good. Cake for breakfast is my favorite thing. At Bacca's, they had those little pies.
Let me tell you that the baked goods at Bacca's are not to be slept on.
Listen,
they're incredible.
What I realized when I was over there is I was like, oh, the cooking school I'm teaching at this week is just around the corner. So like,
you should try.
I'll be going to Bacca's again.
That olive oil lemon cake is incredible.
So last night I was like, David, I want that. He's like, we're both getting ice cream. Like,
and I was get like, it when you're teaching.
I'm gonna get
amazing.
it.
Also, that Brazilian cheese bread.
I'm gonna get it
and have them warm it up for you.
Oh my gosh! See,
you guys, you're listening to the Vodka's Creamery
podcast.
This is the where I talk about the things I've eaten at Vodka's Vegan Creamery.
So good, so good.
But yeah, that when I met them, they were just doing pastry. They were called all Tomorrow's Pastries. So that cookbook that they have is like their
I'm gonna
pastries.
have her on the podcast. I
Oh,
got the
good,
cookbook and I'm gonna
good.
have her on. So we're gonna talk to the owner.
I'm
of
obsessed.
Watkins.
I'm obsessed with their. I'm so glad that they still have them.
I remember you talking about the baked goods, and when I went into I mean, it's not new anymore, but like that location last night where they have seating now and everything, they had the lemon cake. I was like, oh my gosh, the baked goods Natalie was talking about. The croissants were out. My goal is to get a croissant this week.
Oh, okay.
Because you know that Instagram trending audio where it goes croissant.
Yes.
I've been waiting for an opportunity to use it, and now I have it.
Yeah.
So.
That's also how I make a lot of choices.
Yes.
It's like a trending
to get that
audio
vegan
that
croissant to do it.
I love that. Okay, so final chapter.
So I'm looking at these shakes. So there's a strawberry shortcake shake. There's the birthday cake shake. There's the coffee and donut shake. Pumpkin cream cheese latte shake. One of my favorites. I love them.
Incredible.
But anyways, yes.
I don't care if it's basic. I love pumpkin. When it's pumpkin season, I'm eating pumpkin every day. Everyone can suck it. Everyone can suck it.
Call me basic all you want. I want pumpkin everything. I'm here for it. Oh, the fancy margarita is in
Yeah. I wanted to ask you. Yeah. Tell me. Okay. So you said you served this at your wedding?
Yes, it was our signature cocktail at the wedding. So it's basically beet juice and ginger. It's a beet juice and ginger juice margarita.
That sounds so good.
And it's got, I think it has a lime and orange zest rim. But my intern at the time, who's now a master chef, Taryn Clayton, she owns Soj Food in New Jersey, somewhere in New Jersey. Sorry, I don't know the town in New Jersey, but Taryn used to be a bartender and helped me develop this because I wasn't drinking. I don't drink.
Yeah.
And so I was drinking the non-alcoholic version of it and it was delicious. And she put tequila in it. And there we have it in the book. Of course, I love Reba McEntire. So it's called the Fancy Margarita because it's red in color, like Reba and the red dress and fancy.
Right.
And then we served it as our signature cocktail at the wedding because then people could also get it as a mocktail, but then also with tequila in it.
I love that so much. I love that you incorporated your favorite musician and frankly icon into your wedding and into this recipe.
Somehow I just sneak her into the wedding, and that seemed to be like the best way to, because also when we chose songs to like dance to and stuff, like nothing quite, it always felt a little cheesy, like any Reba song I would have chose for some reason. Like it just didn't align totally. So it was good at work.
And is David a Reba fan?
He is now.
Okay.
He is now.
Okay.
We actually saw her in concert 3 times in the last year.
Aww, that's so fun.
Isn't that bananas?
But that's really fun.
I took him once, and after 10 years together, we saw her in concert, and he was like, "This is amazing." And I was like, "I know. Do you want to go again in 6 months? She's coming to Savannah." And he was like, "I do." And then I was like, after that, I was like, "Great. Do you want to go see her in New York now?" And he was like, "I do." And I was like, "Great, let's go." So
that's really fun. Yeah, I did. I had a tab on that because I wanted to make sure we talked about her.
Yes.
So the final chapter in the book is Sweet Emotions. Donut come for me. Sweets to make friends.
Donut come for me. Do you know who said that?
Donut come for me.
Drag Race.
Oh yeah. Was Jujubee? Who?
Kimchi.
Mm-hmm. Oh right. Duh.
She said,
I think there's a line. I have a few Kimchi Cosmetics products. I'm pretty sure there's a donut come for me.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I stole it.
Yeah. I use the setting powder I really like. There's like a few different like correctors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually,
I was doing my makeup today and I realized most of my makeup is like drag queen.
Do you have any from the Trixie Mattel
I have
line?
Trixie.
Is it great?
Yeah. Because when Trixie there was a line called Plant Gay and it was all like greens.
No kidding.
And there was a lip gloss called the Vegan Agenda. And I was like, I don't care if I never wear it. I'm buying the Vegan Agenda.
That is smart.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me.
And the Trixie packaging is so cute.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah,
either. We just got tickets to see their podcast live, Trixie and Kata.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. In Atlanta?
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be fun.
And it's like really good seats I snagged. I got I did the code beforehand.
Nice.
And everything. I'm very excited.
My friend who did my makeup for my book that I was talking about, Mo.
Yeah.
Their drag name is Fayludes.
Okay.
Is performing at the Trixie Motel, and I'm so proud of them. Like that's amazing.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Trixie Motel, we looked up after the series was on. We looked up like going to visit, and we were like, I don't think this is in our future right now financially.
Yeah. Tony did the same thing because we've been trying to figure out a vacation.
Have you been to Palm Springs?
I've never been to Palm Springs.
Either.
We have a friend who lives there. I think it's like for us. like it could be fun for like a day or two, but then we'd probably want to go like we
Yeah.
probably want to go to like LA
Yeah,
or
yeah,
like
yeah.
somewhere with
Yep.
more going on.
Yep. I feel like we'd feel the same actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Maybe-
I just want to be in
Yeah.
the Trixie Motel.
Me too. Me too. Me too. But what room would you want to stay in? I don't know. I just give me whatever you got.
Honestly, yeah,
Give me the cheapest one.
they're all really fun. I don't know.
Give me the cheapest one, please.
I think like there was a few country ones that were super
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah.
They're all really fun.
Yeah, it's very cute.
Yeah. And the
Mhm.
pool would be so
Pool.
oh,
Adorable.
so fun.
This is a plug for Trixie Motel.
Yes. Welcome back to the Trixie Motel podcast.
Yes.
I would buy a pink bikini for that. All my bikinis are black. They're all black.
I love this.
I'm a beach goth.
Well, I was just thinking like Trixie needs our help at all, please.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so.
She doing fine.
But anyway, I love dessert. Like this is the chapter I always skip to. Like when I get a new cookbook. You have a sweet tooth, right?
Yes.
You're a big sweets person.
Yes.
If you could have a day where you could just eat anything you want, you're not going to feel sick after, like you're going to feel great no matter how much of it you eat.
It's going to feel like a health food.
There won't be any, nothing. No guilt, no yucky stomach, nothing.
Heard.
Like what would you go for?
Can I say multiple items?
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of cookie dough involved. And there's also going to be, because I feel as though it's underrated and I wish I thought of it more, there's going to be a lot of pie involved.
Oh, I love pie.
Yep. And there's also going to be a lot of cake. I just love cake.
Cake's good.
I would say cupcakes as well, but really I want the cake.
Yeah.
When I'm in a cupcake place, I'm really trying to get the frosting, and I love the layers of cake and the ratios of frosting. I like getting to the back side of the cake where there's a lot of frosting.
Yes.
So
we call that the rind.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. So I'm going to be getting to the rind of the cake that day, and there's going to be cookie dough, and there's going to be pie.
It's I think that you've designed my day also.
And Sour Patch Kids potentially. Wait, those are vegan, right?
Yeah. Sour Patch Kids. Yep. That's my favorite candy. I think.
Love it.
I love like sour gummy candy. Like gummy Vikings. Do you like those?
I haven't had those.
Oh, we're gonna get you gummy Vikings today.
It's happening.
Okay.
It's happening.
Recently my friend Nicole had a vegan Arby's themed birthday party.
I saw photos of that. I don't understand where do you get what?
Well,
it looked like an Arby's sandwich.
Her boyfriend, Dan Stackman, owns Upton's Naturals.
What am I thinking? Of course.
Which is a seitan factory.
Yes, so hello.
And so he made it.
It looked like the Arby's sandwich. I was like, what's happening?
Yeah. So actually my husband made the seitan because he's the production manager.
And sliced it thin.
And then Dan like marinated it and they sliced it at the restaurant. And then
do you guys serve that at Liberation Kitchen?
No, it was just
that would be
Nicole said the one thing she missed in the whole world was Arby's.
Get that.
And so that's that. Dan always does like a food themed birthday for her every year. It's really cute. So he did that and curly fries and everything. But I told him, I was like, for dessert, like, should I make like Jamocha shakes?
Is that an Arby's thing?
Yeah, because that's the thing. But the thing is, neither Dan or Nicole are coffee people. Sure. And a Jamocha shake is a coffee chocolate shake.
Gotcha.
So I was like, that seems like a weird fit. So we just, we had Heather was coming to the party anyway. So we had a Pie My Darling cake. And Nicole's favorite is the cookie dough cake, which is a cookie dough buttercream. So good.
Heather, just a shout out that you're amazing at Pie My
It was
Darling.
so funny though, because speaking of the rind, her cakes are so big and rich and incredible that I've literally never seen anyone eat that last
I'll eat it.
Have you ever finished a whole piece of her cake?
Absolutely.
In one sitting?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yes.
You are a champion.
I mean, I think I've been sharing it. So maybe that doesn't count as the champion. But I will challenge me.
Because even Tony can put away some sugar.
I love cake so much.
And I've never seen him finish it.
But I think now that you're saying that, I've been sharing it. Okay. So that doesn't count.
Because her cake, I feel like, is a 2-day job.
It's a 2-day job. I'm here for it. I love that cake so much. I mean, I just love cake. I love cake. It's so good.
I agree. I think cake is you know what though? Lately I've loved like a good cookie too. Like
I love a cookie.
Yeah.
I love sugar.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never grown out of it. I want it less sweet than I used to.
I was actually,
which is why I think vodka is so good.
I will say that about vodkas. Last night I was thinking this isn't like sugary, like over sugary sweet ice cream for me. But I also feel on that note, I have loved as I've gotten older, exploring healthier options of desserts, like
Okay.
sweetening with dates or whatever it is,
Sure.
right? Like, and when I say healthier, it's still sugar, everybody. I'm not delusional, but like at least trying to find ways of not just pouring tons of like white sugar on
Yeah.
things, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's actually a great lead in for how I wanted to wrap things up, even
Ooh.
though I want to talk to you forever.
Yes.
The good thing is we can keep talking. We
Oh, yeah.
just don't have to make everybody else listen to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. All of our lots of business plans. Feel free to weigh in. You can DM me.
So I actually, before we leave the dessert chapter, I do have one question because it wouldn't be an epic vegan book without a couple of real wild cards. And in this chapter, you have things like the sneaky pickle pineapple ice cream and kale me crazy ice cream.
Yes.
So I was just curious, like, what do you think elements like that, like a sour pickle or like a more earthy kale, how do those complement a dessert?
Well, it's interesting because there's things in this chapter like the s'mores cookie cups that you see there, the Power Tower Brownie Sunny. Like there's a lot of things that are sort of like lend themselves to like what we would traditionally think of desserts, and they're just built on top of each other. There's a churro cup sundae in there, which are these like cups that are, baked churro dough with ice cream in them. So good. But then I was like, these are epic, but what's like maybe a little like wonky and weird, right? And when I put the sour and the sweet together, there's something, it is a very happy marriage. It's just like a Sour Patch Kid, and we think about how much we love that. And there was this place in New York that was doing non-vegan pickle soft serve. And I was like, I'm interested, but then I was like, but I want there to be, I don't want it to just be pickle, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I tossed the pineapple in there with it. So you get this like pickle pineapple experience. So you're getting, it's like a little sour plus then the sweet of the ice cream with it, right? But you're getting the sour from another sweet item, right? Like fruit, I mean. So with the pineapple. So you're not just getting this bitter sour pickle in there. So you're getting a mixture of all that. With Kale Me Crazy, it's interesting you said the earthy part of it. It really is sort of balancing the sweetness and the earthy of it so that you don't just feel like you're eating a head of kale, but also with that's one of the reasons I put it in a cookie sandwich, so that you weren't just like, oh, I'm having scoops of kale ice cream, which you can do. Obviously you can just make the ice cream
kale, but delicious. Make it fun.
Yeah, kale, but make it fun. So I put it between the cookies to sort of give us like a little other, different textures with it, different sweetness with it.
Smart.
And just a whole sort of different elements to it to make it more than just kale, essentially.
When I did, I wanted to put a couple smoothie recipes in my book because I did a breakfast chapter.
Yep.
And I wasn't really a big smoothie person at the time. So I actually had a professional wrestler help me with that part.
Love that. I love that. Is that the picture of him in the front of the book?
No.
Different professional wrestler.
Yeah.
Okay.
Amy Dumas, she was known as Lita. She's
amazing.
A WWE Hall of Famer.
Amazing.
And she helped me out with those. But one of the recipes is a kale smoothie, but it has almond and like a few other creamy things in it. And delicious. It really, really tastes like pistachio ice cream. And it looks like it because of the green from the kale. And I named the smoothie Dan's Drinking Kale because my dad loved pistachio ice cream. It was his favorite flavor. And I really felt like my dad passed away before my book came out, but I felt like that was a way, like my dad would have drank that smoothie happily. So I named it after him. But I think that's all just to say that kale is more versatile than people think.
You can find its spot.
Yeah,
in there.
You really can like incorporate it into a lot. Throw it in your smoothie.
Throw it in your smoothie. That's the best way for me to get my kale is I throw it in a smoothie, because I actually every now and then I'll have a kale salad that I really enjoy. I like to eat kale massaged with Caesar dressing. That's probably my favorite way to do just like a kale salad. But like in general, just noshing on kale.
It's a lot of chewing.
It's a lot of chewing. I either need to have it massaged into the dressing massaged into it so it's breaks down a little easier, or tossed into a smoothie, or hey, tossed into ice cream.
Right. Make a pesto. Like it's that's you kind of need to.
That new book I have coming out has a Power Greens pesto in it where it's like kale and spinach like as the base of the pesto. Yeah.
Nice.
So lots of ways to use it.
So this brings us to the end of Epic Vegan, Wild, and Over-the-Top Plant-Based Recipes.
Yes.
Normally, this is where you would do a baker's dozen rapid fire. But because I've been on the show twice, You and David did a show about your third book, Epic Vegan, Quick and Easy.
Yep.
I thought we would do something a little bit different. So I just had a couple more kind of general questions about this book in retrospect.
Sure.
So this book came out in 2019, which is a year that a lot of us look back on and think like, we were so innocent.
We sure were. We sure were.
Do you feel like the kind of like year or years of isolation due to COVID that so many of us experienced influenced you in a way that resulted in any like noticeable changes between this book and your third book?
Wow. Well, the third book was being written during the beginning of the pandemic.
Mhm.
So I don't know if between those two books, but definitely just changes in sort of just perception on all of it.
Yeah.
What we do with our time.
Sure.
And when it comes to cooking and creating recipes for people, especially between this book and the pandemic and where I am now, this book meaning the first Epic Vegan, and where I am now, I've changed in terms of what's more functional for me at my
Sure.
age. I'm 42
Right.
now. Like, am I creating food that's going to be functional for me in the long term and healthful for me in the long term? Does it mean I'm not going to enjoy something from Epic Vegan? Absolutely not. I love that book. I am very proud of this book and I love the food that's in it, but I say it in the book. I say it's meant for, an experience. It's meant to get in the kitchen with friends and family and cook together and talk about vegan food together. Like, this is a great book if you're vegan to have and pull a recipe from and go to your friend's house on the weekend and say, hey, let's like put these brunch nachos together,
Right,
and
exactly.
maybe it's non-vegan friends and you get to have a fun conversation with them about why the food's delicious and why you eat that way. So I find value in having this book in that way to sort of create those conversations and put that out there. But I have changed in my perception of how I'm creating recipes. I want everything to be as simple as possible for anybody, so they have no excuse to eat vegan food, to not eat vegan food.
The reason I asked is because this book does feel like a party.
Yeah.
Like this book is for a part, like you're having people over, you're bringing a dish somewhere.
Yes.
Like it feels very like shareable party. And your third book is to me more like things that you're kind of like making and prepping at home, and that maybe you're kind of, it's going into your regular rotation. And so it felt a little bit more like home cooking, stay at home, make this. Like, certainly you could make any of those dishes for a party.
Sure.
Absolutely. But like, it made me think like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder if us all sort of staying at home had anything to do with
well,
that.
I mean, so it's interesting you say that, because like I mentioned, I was writing it when the pandemic started, which just was and I had just moved to Atlanta, and I was doing this brand new job where I was creating recipes for a business all the time. And so I was sort of in a place where as with the publisher, we were like, well, what's the difference between this and the last one? And I was like, well, what if we make the flavor epic still, but we make it more for somebody who is trying to, create meal prep, or there's even a meal prep chapter in that book, or create something when they get home on a weeknight, that's something they can have quickly. There's a whole soup chapter in there that's so good for that. So there was definitely a shift between this book and Epic Vegan Quick and Easy of making it, it's one pot, one pan recipes and quick and easy that people can really sort of access, hopefully with what they have in their pantry at any given time.
Right. Yeah. And not to get into that book, because people can definitely go back and listen to the episode you did with David about that book. But I just made the buttered pan.
You sure did.
Yesterday.
You put an epic spin on it, though. There is this recipe in Quick and Easy, the effortless butter pan biscuits, which has received great compliments and feedback, and I love that recipe. But you took it a step further and you put bacon and vegan cheddar cheese in it. I should say vegan bacon too if I'm gonna say vegan cheddar cheese, but do we need to say that? We know that. And they're so good. You brought me some today, everybody, and they are delicious. So good.
So we kind of touched on this a bit, but I always feel like if I ever re-released my book, I would have a lot of work to do just to update it.
Sure, I get what you're saying.
Based on the fact that things are available now in stores that were not available in 2013. Like, I probably don't need to include a recipe for vegan mayo.
Right.
Not that not that Vegenaise wasn't available, but now you can literally get different brands of it and whatever. But also because like personally, I've changed a lot. Obviously, it's been 10 years. I've grown up. My tastes have changed, like the kind of food I like.
Yeah.
You sort of touched on that too, or maybe this isn't like what you're going to eat every day. Do you feel like your third book is kind of more like how you're typically eating these days? Or
yeah, I mean, what's interesting is I don't know how I personally eat anymore because I'm always creating for other people,
right,
which is actually like I don't want to say a thorn in my side because I'm very grateful to be doing what I get to do, but like it's very hard for me to, and you and I have the same fitness coach, so you understand this, like it's very hard for me to meal prep for myself because I'm trying to create meals that I want to eat during the week and that are aligned with my health goals, but then I'm looking at a whiteboard full of recipes that I need to have tested in the next month, you know? And so it does reflect. There are items that definitely get pulled out of my rotation in terms of like what I'm eating on a daily basis. And it did make it in their way to Epic Vegan Quick and Easy. But then I'm also expanding beyond that because really, if I were just eating for myself, cooking for myself every day and my goals, I'd be making like proteins and veggies and a little bit of rice.
Yeah.
And I'd be like satiated by that and I'd be good. But as you know, with books, we're trying to entice people and give them items to wow other people with and wow themselves with and show them that, you know, heightened food can be easy also in the kitchen. So there's things in the books that, you know, are not always on rotation in my kitchen, but definitely like made their way through at some point, probably.
Okay. So final question about this book, the promotional tour that you went on looked really fun. And you did a lot of like fun pop-ups and you were at like vegan markets and popping up at restaurants and all kinds of things. Do you have a city on that tour that was sort of like your best memory or the place you had the most fun?
Chicago. Were you setting me up?
No,
you have to know.
I was wondering. I really thought maybe Miami or like
Chicago and Minneapolis, but I'll say it's because of you. It's because of Laura Van Zant in Minneapolis, right? Like when I have a connection, a tie to the city, and there's someone to sort. Because when I'm on my own in a city, and I do have like, because that tour was intense. I did usually 3 events per city. It was usually a cooking class, a book signing where there was also usually a tasting involved, and then some sort of pop-up as well where I would also sign books. So like I'd have to collaborate with the restaurant, have a dish on the menu, all those things like that. And it was awesome and fun, but like here was just jam-packed full of awesome stuff I did. Oh, and there was always usually TV stuff thrown in. So in Minneapolis and here I had TV stuff, but like I had you with me sort of just helping me every step of the way. And that just makes the experience much more enjoyable for myself when there's somebody who's just with me being like a bit of a cheerleader for me and also being like, no, you don't have to carry that bag. I am actually going to carry that for you. You know, so instead of having 10 bags in my hand, I have 8 bags and someone else is getting, you know what I mean? Whatever it is. Like,
I was there to kitchen torch the mac and cheese balls for
bless you. Oh, I felt so bad about that torch. And then Philadelphia too. I guess I can't pick one city, but LJ Steinig, big shout out to her in Philadelphia, and I had a really cool cooking experience or teaching experience there at that cooking school where it was like a demo style, but it was sort of like I served food up to everyone like as I was making it. So it was like this, it was a booth or counter everyone sat up essentially, and it was like 15 people and I served them like at the counter as I made the courses.
Fun.
So like that was cool too. There were different facets of the tour and I don't know if I could ever do it again. It was a lot of work to schedule
it was epic.
It was epic, an epic tour for an epic book. I remember when Epic Vegan Quick and Easy came out, I was kind of like, oh, I'm glad I don't have to tour because it was during the pandemic.
Oh, right. I was thinking because you were going to keep it quick and easy.
Right. And the thing is too, and you know this, like publishers don't pay for book tours anymore. So when I scheduled that whole Epic Vegan tour, I was hell bent on going on a tour. I was like, I'm doing a book tour. Because to me, this book was very much like my baby. Like of all the books I've done, this is the one where I was like, okay, here's the book, baby. And so I was very adamant on getting myself out there and like meeting people and talking about the food and sharing the food in a way that I haven't been able to yet. So, but Chicago really was my favorite stop on that book tour. I'm not even just saying that. Yeah.
Is there anything you can share about the book that you have been working on? Or is it top secret?
It's not top. It's not. I mean, it's a co-authored book, and
Okay.
the main author on it has not announced it yet.
Okay.
So the best I can say is that I've got a new book coming out in 2024. Yeah.
Okay. So if you're listening to the podcast, then you'll hear about all the details. When they're
Absolutely.
available.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, we did it.
We did it. Yay.
Dustin, thank you for letting me take over your podcast.
Thank you for taking it
It was
over.
so
This was the
fun.
best. You can do it anytime.
Everybody, I mean, people listening should already know where they can find you on social media and online, but do you want to just
Yes, you
go
can
through the
catch me
motions?
at the Vegan Roadie on Instagram and then veganroadie.com.
And you can find me at Bacon Destroy on
Yes.
Instagram and bacondestroy.com.
Look how easy we made it.
So everybody go get a copy of Epic Vegan, Wild, and Over the Top plant-based recipes. If you don't already own it, you can get it everywhere books are sold. You can follow Dustin on social media to see where he's teaching classes next. He's got 3 classes here in Chicago. By the time you hear this, he will have already taught them. But
Yes.
but yeah, keep an eye out because he might be teaching a class near you. And we were going to go to the beach, but
yeah, but wah.
the world said no. But should we get lunch?
Yeah, we're just gonna have to eat instead, and
Yes.
I'm okay with that. I'm
Okay.
fine with that.
Okay, let's get lunch. All
Yay!
right. Thanks.
This has been a Muzzy Cat production.